The push-ups,
The
the
push-ups.
ACV shots, like because we were in that environment where it was it could impact your health.
Mm-hmm.
I love that everybody had these remedies and
Yeah.
these random things that everybody subscribed to.
The,
But
the Gase push-ups when he would
the,
walk into a meeting, be like, "Everybody, let's do push-ups."
right.
Like what? And then Josh brought that to California, and we started
Oh,
doing
did
those.
he?
And yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Do you remember the time where it was me, you, and Josh in Plymouth? We dropped down to do push-ups and my shoulder gave out. And we doing we doing push-ups and my shoulder gave out, and you guys were roasting me about that. And I was like, "Hey man, I'm old. The shoulder hurt." I don't think I ever did another push-up at shit, not just at work. I don't know if I've ever done another push-up since. Just period. That was hilarious. Shouts out to B Case, man. Push-ups every day.
Ridiculous.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to anyone who's out there that can hear the sound of our voice. I want to thank you for joining us here on Appreciate the Journey podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is JoeDREW, but I don't come alone. I come with my main man, my partner in time, my brother from another, LL. What's up, LL? Say what's up to the people.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hey, man, you got how many buttons do you have unbuttoned right now? Because I feel like you're just too cool
It's just
over
two.
there.
It's just two.
Okay, okay.
There's no chest hair hanging out. So
By the end of the show, he gonna have like 4 buttons unbuttoned. He just sitting back there, too cool. But no, man, it's always a great day when I have opportunity to record one of these conversations with you. Today's episode is just you and I. We are having this opportunity to talk about a topic that is extremely important. But before we do, let's make sure that we give a little context to ATJ. If this is someone's first time connecting with us and they want to know, like, what the hell are these guys about, give them a little flavor as to what's the overall goal of ATJ, what's our platform, how are we connecting with our networks.
Yeah, so our goal here is to really, help try to educate a little bit while trying to entertain everyone on, some of the professional things that we've all experienced, right? Joe and I have kind of been on this journey together for quite some time. We've, worked together, have been really close friends, worked together again, and we've seen quite a bit, and we just want to be able to share a lot of our knowledge because there's, you say this way better than I ever do, but there's no point in us hoarding this knowledge and, best thing that we can do is try and help people succeed. Yeah. So along with this platform, we also have this career coaching service. So if you're in the job market, you're having trouble interviewing, you're having trouble applying, or maybe you're looking for some support to help guide you along with your current role, we're happy to help. So you can find us on all of the socials. That's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at ATJ the podcast, or you can find us at our website, atjcareercoaching.com.
Absolutely. Thank you. Very, very well said. And I think part of the intro that you just gave is a great segue into our topic, because what I believe, maybe we believe, makes us qualified to have this platform to do the career coaching has been the work experiences we've had in a variety of industries. And I think that's important. If you are trying to figure out how to jump from X industry to Y industry, both of us have done it multiple times and successfully have done that, but also working in high stress, super chaotic type of environments, and not chaotic in a negative way, but just the reality of it is we've both worked in startup environments where the pace is times 10 from your more established, traditional organization. So because of that experience, it makes us very qualified to pay it forward and share that knowledge. But it absolutely makes us qualified to talk about this important topic, which is managing burnout, man. And so both of us will have our own opportunity to share stories and thoughts around managing burnout, how we've received or interacted with the concept of burnout, and any advice and things that we may have for those who may be just feeling this, or maybe have gone through it themselves. It's something you can resonate to. So
Yeah.
before we get into the specific stories, man, why do you think this is such an important topic in general for us to discuss here at ATJ?
So this is the experience of burning out and just high stress. That's something that everyone goes through.
Yeah.
It's so important for us to talk about it because everyone will experience this at some point in their lives. Although my experience is different than yours, it's all intertwined, right?
Hmm.
We've worked for the same type of people, we've worked for the same types of organizations, whether but at the same time, like you said, we've bounced from different industries, and you experience the same types of things, just in different shapes and forms.
Hmm.
So everyone will go through this. I don't care if you're, an entry level person working retail, service, whatever it is, or if you're an executive, you're going to experience burnout, and especially in today's day and age, where there's this I don't know, corporate culture where you have to do more with less. We hear all the time, oh, so and so this company just laid off so many people, now I have to do two people's jobs or three people's jobs. You're going to get burned out, and
Yeah.
it's a tough thing to deal with. So it's very important for us to be able to talk about this and have an authentic conversation about it, because this is something that's real, and so something that I have very much struggled with. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And me as well. We earlier, a couple weeks ago, we had a conversation with Kristen Beckett, and with her being in the wellness profession, we really got some good thoughts and ways to kind of support your mental well-being. But before you get to that part, you have
mhm,
to recognize that you're actually going through burnout. And I think those are that's the harder place to get to, is actually recognizing what it is, calling it what it is, and receiving the fact that you need to make a change, for yourself. So let's just jump right in, man, because you already said this, and I agree that this is a personal topic. It's a sensitive topic for both of us because it's something that we both have experienced in a variety of ways. So let's just start there, and I want to pass it
yeah.
to you first. And what has your what take me back to maybe when's the first time you started to feel like this something different, and you start to recognize maybe the signs of I'm being burnt out, to frame that for us.
So to be honest, I've experienced it several times throughout my career, but I
Mm.
think the one that impacted me the most,
There you go.
was probably a couple years ago. This is a little bit tough to talk about, so sorry about that. So a couple years ago, I was working with a startup. You were there as well,
Hmm.
and basically I had ownership of this entire department. I think at the time we were maybe 20-25 people total in the department. The company overall had, I don't know, 700-800 people at that point, maybe 1,000. So I was in charge of the entire HR department, and um, really, really high expectations. Number one. However, it took me a really long time to really realize and recognize that I was putting a lot of that on myself. So that's the first thing I want to say is nobody forced me to put in the crazy hours, because when I was there, I was traveling every other week. When I was working in my normal office, I was in the office by 7 a.m. hopping on Zoom calls with the East Coast and the UK, and then I was on Zoom calls until probably lunch, and then after lunch, I would actually get to my actual work, right?
Hmm.
Probably work until dinner time, head home, have dinner, and then log back in and keep working. So, do the math, 12 plus hours per day, usually 12 to 14, 15 hours per day, um, trying to do as much as I could. And again, I was putting that on myself. At that point, the company had been really great to me.
Hmm.
Again, I was the head of this department. They had taken care of me. I had a pretty let's call it healthy stock option plan. So I truly felt like an owner in the company, and I
Yeah.
truly felt like I was responsible for this team, this department, and I had to do everything I could for everyone in my department, not just everyone in my department, but of course the entire organization.
Mhm.
So I was burning myself out, and it got to a point where um, you know, I was traveling for work. I was in Michigan, and I found myself in the ER having emergency surgery um, while I was while I was on this work trip, and it was a really terrible time because that was like right before Thanksgiving of that particular year, which was also right before our big launch and our big
Oh,
reveal to the
yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So a lot going on in the company.
Mhm.
I had the surgery, and I was supposed to be out for, doctor said 5 to 6 weeks or something like that. I, I was back within a week and a half or two,
I remember.
and I wanted to do that.
Mhm.
Like what the hell's wrong with me? I wanted to do that. But I wanted to do that because again, I felt ownership. I felt responsible for the people. I felt like I I had to do everything I could for this company and this organization. And unfortunately, um, that's when I felt myself really start to decline, deteriorate, whatever the word is, when it comes to my work performance. I physically couldn't keep up with anymore. I couldn't do the hours anymore. I couldn't. I was mentally drained a lot quicker and easier,
Mhm.
and I felt myself like that was when I started my trajectory started going downhill, basically.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
Wow. Let
yeah.
me because I think it's important, especially for those who don't know us and don't know this part of your journey. It's important to set the stage that, you mentioned the company size, probably 1,000 at this point, but you had been going at it from the time the company was when you started, what, less than 100?
I started with less than 50.
Less than 50. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that you just parachuted in at 1,000, which is still small. You're talking
Mhm.
about the expectation to be a part of building something huge from when it's less than 50 people.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So,
that
so
is
at that point,
compounding.
like two and a half years, almost 3 years with the organization,
Right.
going at it hard like that for that amount of time, and
Right.
and helping grow and scale and doing all these things for the company.
Right. Yeah. And then let me ask you this then, because this is a part of my part of the story that I'll jump into, but I'm
Mhm.
curious with your perspective. You said you weren't forced to, right? So no
Correct.
one said, LL, this is what you have to do. However, I do think there's something to everyone taking on the persona of those that they report to, or the leaders or the influential people. So if there's anybody out there who is potentially going to join or maybe a startup that's founder led, maybe talk about how that maybe had an impact into how you approached it, being in an organization that's founder led, and the time and the effort and energy that person set the stage or sets the example for everyone
Mhm.
else to kind of follow.
Yeah, my experience with founder-led organizations are very different than not founder-led organizations, and this particular one, I mean, brilliant guy,
Mhm.
just a
Genius,
yeah.
certified genius.
Let's call it. The guy's a genius.
Right.
Um, Probably the hardest working man I have ever met in my entire life. There's
Mhm.
maybe one person who's also with that organization that I think is at that same level. Um, but yeah, I've never seen anybody work harder, put in more hours. I mean, this man, the entire time that I knew him, he if you had a chance to have a private conversation with him, you could tell he was tired,
Mhm.
but he was still so damn motivated, and
Yeah.
he yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kudos to that man. But just a very different culture when you work for somebody like that, where you see like he's making a lot of personal sacrifices. So shit, man, if he's doing it, I got to do it too.
Yeah.
He's doing all these things. I have to do it too. Um, so yeah, you're right. Again, he didn't force me. Nobody forced me, but I
Right.
wanted to. I felt the obligation and the responsibility to.
Yeah. No, and I think it's important for us to dive into the after effects
Mhm.
of that, and maybe what happened from there. But before we go into that, I'll catch up to you in as
Yeah,
far
please.
as the journey. Or for me, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, right? If I track back to where my challenges started, I come and join you at the organization a couple years later. So maybe 6 months before the surgery situation, which you wouldn't even tell me what hospital you were at, and you knew I was gonna I was gonna show up and be there with, I don't know, some soup, or I don't know what I was gonna bring you, but I was gonna show up and you wouldn't even tell
Mhm.
me what hospital you were at. I should have tracked your ass down. But anyway, um, coming in to an organization that your friend, I earned the job, but you
Yep.
recommended me. You set the stage, and as I got in, I learned that you shared like this is a person who I have a high level of confidence in, and those things. So no fault, but the reality was, as me coming in, I felt a level of I can't let my guy down. So where maybe your pressure comes from reporting to the founder, CEO, and observing their habits, and trying to match it and mirror it. My motivation that turned into burnout was I got to make good on the fact that my guy went out on a limb to recommend me for a role that, quite frankly, my experience didn't make me qualify for. It was my skill sets and my transferable skills, but I had never done that job before. And I wanted to make sure that no one could ever question your judgment, and no one could say, "Oh, you just got him in here because he's your guy." Like, I wanted to make sure that there was no question as to why I was in that job. And so that was the mentality that had me putting in the hours and me internalizing more than I needed to, which began to grow into a level of burnout. And I think
And
in addition to that, you may have by this point you had moved on, for I don't know if we'll ever get into that conversation, but if we do, I look forward to telling that story. But you had moved on. I had elevated into roles that you left, and as the company started to grow, I also started to feel it from jumping into the new chief people officer. Put me into a elevated role that, quite frankly, my experience wouldn't say I was qualified for. So here I go again. I want to make her out to be a genius. I want to make her out to know that she didn't tap me for the wrong reasons. Like, I want everyone to say that's a good person identifier of talent, so to speak. So it just kept. I guess I felt like it kept compounding to where the pressure I put on myself to make others look good because they made a decision on me pushed me to a point where I wasn't giving myself enough grace, and therefore I started to experience the mental deterioration, the burnout, the things that you described.
Mhm. Man, I'm really sorry to have put that pressure on you.
You didn't. I put it on myself.
I
Like you
I
said, I'm not a victim. I put it on myself.
I get that, but it's definitely something. And it's not just you. I've heard this from other people that were in our department, on the team, and it's a bit of guilt that I do live with. Is that they didn't want to feel like they were letting me down. They saw me putting in the hours, so they had to put in the hours, and it becomes this, like, I don't know, like this endless cycle
Yeah.
where it just keeps going. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely a bit of guilt with that.
No, no, and I
And
I understand it. I understand the guilt. But I just want to make sure I'm clear that I would have, knowing what I know now, because of the experience, because of the opportunity, the dope memories outweigh the challenging ones by a mile. I would
mhm,
do it again. I would do it differently, and I would have a little more consciousness about the self-awareness that I needed to remove myself from certain things or to give myself more grace, like I said. But I would do it again, and
oh,
I'll be
a
forever
hundred
grateful.
percent.
Right. So that's something I'll be forever grateful for, the fact that you did help me navigate my way into that opportunity. And I probably would do it again to say no one could have said Leland made a bad choice. So that part I'm proud of, even though it comes with its effects later on.
Mm-hmm.
No one could say, everyone based on my performance would say, good decision, LL. That was a good hire. So that, to me, because of that, that was worth it.
Yeah, and that is, one thing I will 100% blow smoke up my own ass for is I made damn good hires.
Absolutely.
The team that we had put together, man, 99% of them were just
Phenomenal.
top notch, man.
Phenomenal. Yeah. And
Yeah.
speaking of the team, man, let me throw this out there. You talked about the guilt, so to speak, and how
Mhm.
that weighed into, just how the mental well-being and things that happen on um, the team that we put together. And then as people started to go different directions, whether voluntarily or involuntarily,
Mhm.
what I started to have was survivor's remorse. I started to see all the people who were my peers when you were leading the team, and we were all together in the first HR leadership team, true HR leadership team at the organization, and then the people who came before me started to move on. I'm like, why am I the only one standing? And so there was this survivor's remorse that also, do I deserve to be the one here compared to everyone else? And so those things also weigh in. And I think when you have some of those feelings,
Mhm.
I think the burnout sets in easier, right? Like it is, again, I keep saying compound. It's a compound effect. Maybe because we come
Yeah.
from finance. I'm just thinking about compound interest or something like that. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, that definitely was something I felt. Survivor. Shouts out to that. You ever watched that TV show, Survivor's Remorse? They
Mm.
canceled it, but it was a LeBron James TV show. Hey, LeBron, if you're listening, I'm sure you are. Come on to ATJ and talk to us about your show, Survivor's Remorse, and how it impacted burnout. I'm sorry, the conversation was getting too tense for me, so
Yeah.
I had to go to my normal.
So yeah, so Joe, I mean, you've talked about your burnout a little bit, but set the stage for us, man. Like, so how did once you were able to identify it,
Yeah,
walk us through the steps. What do you do,
yeah.
and
Thank you.
everything that you've done to get yourself in a better place.
That is you started off getting a little emotional. You had to take a pause. That's how I feel right now when you say that,
Yeah.
because this is fresh.
Hmm.
So as this show is airing, or this episode is airing, um, I am only a few weeks on the other side of dealing with it, right? So this is, you talk about fresh to death, right?
Hmm.
So we talked a little bit about this when we had Kristen on. Because I was connected to the team responsible for wellness, I was learning and observing certain things that I didn't recognize within myself until I heard others talk about it. And the deterioration of my mental well-being, the burnout was part of those topics. And I'm like, no, I kind of feel like that. Like, I'm not sleeping well at all, even though I'm absolutely exhausted. So that's like I'm tired, but I can't sleep. I can't rest. Um, I'm irritable, and so that's something I observed. I don't want you to talk about this too, but I observed it in you. When we were working together, you are such a easygoing, chill dude, and I saw the irritation in your fuse get so short. I even saw you, curse a person out once, and I'm
I
like LL, like
yeah, I
that's not who
hear
I
that.
know. But I under the pressure was starting, it weighs on you, and you start to act outside of yourself. So you're diffused. So that's how I was. I'm a jovial person. As anybody, you've watched these episodes of the show, my personality. No more jokes. I was, a serious person. It's bad when people who know you are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I was starting to get irritated by people asking me if I'm okay, because I wasn't recognizing what they were seeing. Like, this is not the
Hmm.
same guy. Um, and so it started to continue to grow. I was able to ask, or no, I don't it wasn't asked. I was asked out of the role. So going from leading HR generalist, which was stressing me the hell out, and that was creating the burnout, because of the things that you're asked to do when it comes to HR generalist work. Um, to move into diversity, equity, and inclusion, and trying to build that out, thinking like, oh, here's my breather. It was worse for me, because now it was something I felt indebted to. Like, I got to do this right because somebody who is in my reflection needs me to do well so that they can come behind and have an opportunity to thrive, especially from a diversity and an inclusion standpoint. So it added to the pressure
Mhm.
to the point where I literally felt like I was going to pop, man. So my moment of truth was my 40th birthday last year. My wife and I went on a trip with some other friends to Jamaica. And I was waking up in the middle of the night, literally thinking I was missing work on the beach in Jamaica. That was the moment that I knew I need to make a change or something negative could happen to me. I don't know what that negative would be, but I just felt it. It was coming because the 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 burnout was just so prevalent that during a moment of rest and relaxation, I was still high levels of anxiety.
Mhm.
That was like, oh no, like there's something there, and I'm sure we'll be able to talk more about it. But it eventually led to me taking a sabbatical. Um, I had to build up the confidence to say, I choose me. I'm going to take time away from work, no matter what happens. Thankfully, proper benefits allow for me to be able to do that without impacting my ability to provide for my family. But I was even willing to take that risk and figure it out on the back end because my family deserved the best version of me and not this rundown, burnt out version of me, even though I was, earning. So
Yeah.
that's how it progressed. And then the bubble popped for me, and I just took time away. And I took probably 12 weeks off of work, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad to hear you say that, and we've had other guests mention this. I think Michelle said something about like looking at her for herself, and then Kristen said something very similar about this whole idea that society teaches you to be selfless, but then you forget to take care of yourself, and that's something that I I didn't learn until recently.
Mm-hmm.
I was I don't know. I was always in this place where it's like, I got to do this for the team. I got to do this for the people. I got to do this for everyone else. And that was putting me in a really, really tough spot mentally, emotionally, physically. So yeah, man, that's such a great lesson learned.
Mm-hmm.
And I kick myself for not learning that sooner.
Yeah. No, it's tough. It's tough. It's when you do recognize the lesson, I'm sure you could resonate. You're like, how the hell did I not figure that out years ago? Right? Because it's
Mhm.
such an obvious. Once you get into that mindset, it becomes so obvious that you're like, how did I not see it then? But it's not natural, and it's not probably the way that we're taught through some of the trainings that we went through. It wasn't teaching us, preparing us for that part of the path we were going down.
So all
Which
of my formal and I'm not, this is nothing against anyone, but like all of my formal leadership training, what probably the same for you. What was that buzzword that everyone wanted you to be? Was that servant leadership?
servant leaders, yeah,
Yeah. Servant
they
leadership.
beat
So
that
so
to the
that's
ground.
what I was formally trained and
Yeah,
and
me too.
professionally grew up with.
Yeah,
So that was like something that was so ingrained into me, servant leadership, servant leadership, servant
yeah,
leadership. But I got to that point where I just wasn't taking care of myself.
servant, yeah, no doubt. And here's another aspect of it. We talked a little bit about this and off air, and something that um is part of my journey, and also was part of me having to make the decision to choose me is, I'm an African American man. You're an Asian man. Is it Asian American? Would that be considered Asian
Yeah.
American? All right, we're learning. We're learning always. Ask the DEI practitioner to not know that. Anyway, we both, and me even more, from a demographic standpoint, high likelihood to form diabetes. Um, I I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when I was 29,
Wow.
so much younger than most people. And so I've been managing. I got my weight under control and been managing it for over a decade. But stress is a huge trigger to it. So the first time that I was diagnosed, the reason why it showed itself so bad, I never went through pre-diabetes. I was just diagnosed,
Mm,
was because my wife was going through a very challenging pregnancy with our first child. And it was a very stressful, very challenging situation for us to go through. Thankfully, we were blessed to come out of it and have a, wonderful, healthy son, but it was very, very tough. That's when it first spiked. That's when I was first diagnosed. So now fast forward 11 years later, I'm in a situation where high stress, the most stress I have felt from a professional standpoint. And then those things start spiking again. So at that point, I'm not 29 anymore. I'm 40. I could be here today, gone tomorrow. And strange, and that's not me being dramatic, right? That's a legit
mhm.
thing. So now I had to think about, I got to manage this and get my body back under control before I'm definitely not able to help support my family if I'm, debilitated or 6 feet under. So that became a realistic part of my mindset. And then, like I said, we talked about it because Asian men are also, high
High risk, yeah.
likelihood, high risk is the proper word. So that's something that even though it hasn't formed, it's something you have to always keep in mind. And stress is a huge trigger, huge
Mhm.
trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. How have you thought about that? How have you made changes with that in mind in your life as you're getting close to the seasoned age of 40 coming soon?
Yeah, so people that know me, that have worked with me, they all know I love my lunchtime workouts. So, that's always something that I've done. If I have the opportunity to work out at lunch, it's a great break. It's a great mental break. I can, lift heavy round things and focus on counting and not necessarily whatever's going on at work, right? So that's just like the best break that um, that you can take in the middle of the day. So that's something that I've tried to do throughout my career. Now, when I think back to the times when I was experiencing, high anxiety, high burnout, those were definitely the times where I wasn't doing my lunchtime workouts. I mean, those were, again, I was traveling every other week. I was working these crazy hours. I was doing everything I could, but I wasn't getting that time in for myself.
Wow.
So now, no matter, since leaving that organization, a couple other organizations that I've worked with, I've always made it a point like, hey, I have to do this. If
Yeah.
you want me to be, a valuable member of the team, I got to have my time at lunch. I
Yeah.
have to be able to do these things. I have to take care of myself. I have to, give myself that physical and mental break to be able to do this.
Yeah. No. And I'm pretty sure you brought out the workout question so you can pop that button one more.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
uh
let's
that's why you start
figure
talking
me
about how
out.
you work out. No, but no, I actually I respect and appreciate your commitment to that. Like I often crack jokes, but it's honestly out of envy because you are so dedicated. Um, I think there's some other motives, but we won't. It's a family show, so we won't throw those out there. But no, I always have a healthy amount of respect for how you navigate that, and I do remember when you weren't doing it, and those are the times I described a little earlier where you weren't as pleasant of a Leland or LL as you are today.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely true. Yeah, I almost swung on you one time. No. So as we get, this has been, I think, I hope and I believe that this is going to be a very helpful conversation for someone to listen to who may be getting close to the moments where they're like, I just don't recognize myself. Hopefully, our stories can inspire you to make a decision, check in with your benefits, maybe take some time away if that's available to you. Uh, be careful because your body can react in a negative way. LL found himself in the ER in emergency surgery, and I'm not a I'm not a doctor, but I'm willing to believe that the stress and the way you were internalizing your work has something to do with that part of your body failing and you having to have surgery. And it would have to take a pretty good doctor to tell me otherwise. So as we get close to that, I would be careful to understand, and this is always hard to say, but I'm curious. What would you, if anything, what would you do differently, knowing what you know now, in this whole idea of managing burnout?
Yeah, great question. Um, I also want to be clear that I would not ever take anything away from that opportunity.
For
It
sure.
was the best learning experience I've ever had, the best work opportunity I've ever had. I've met the smartest people in the world, had the opportunity to do things that, I would have never had anywhere else.
Facts.
So,
Facts.
um, not definitely not taking anything away from that. What I would do differently is, um, really, number one, be able to recognize that a little bit more, and um, seek help a little bit earlier.
Mm,
And that's something that we've talked a little bit about before. Mental health is so important. Um, that I near the end of that particular job was when I started seeking therapy, going to see a therapist. So to me, if I could have done that a little bit earlier, number one would have been really great.
mhm.
Um, but then, even though I asked for additional help at work, the other thing I would change is I would have pushed for a lot more. I mean,
For sure.
you were there. I mean, we were small department. We had very limited budget.
Mhm.
Again, it was the do more with less.
Yeah.
Even though I asked for it, I kick myself in. Again, the guilt for the rest of the team. I wish I would have pushed more. I wish I would
Absolutely.
have asked for more help. I wish I would have asked for a bigger budget. Somehow gotten a bigger budget um, to do the things that we needed to do.
Yeah. No, we should have ran in that office together and like wrestling and demanded the budget.
Yeah,
That's it's such. I mean, obviously hindsight, but
yeah,
I
yeah. Of course.
absolutely agree with just that thought. And I think I would answer the question very similarly. I think the only way I would articulate it differently is that, and we were both leaders, right? We're both
Mhm,
leaders of people. Instead of trying to prove myself that I can do it, I think I would have delegated better to help. Ultimately, after I started to delegate more, I guess my leadership, the confidence in my leadership went up from those I was leading, because they were getting opportunities to shine more. And so what I realized was, if I would have applied that thought earlier, I could have lifted people up sooner, as well as taken some of that pressure off of myself.
mhm.
But in that environment, because when we started off, you were the leader, the individual contributor, the coordinator, you were all wrapped in one. It was hard to break away from that feeling of, I can do it. You know what I mean? So I think that's something I would have tried to do differently, and just be honest with myself, man. Like,
Yeah,
this is what you're feeling. This is not a this is a theme. This is not an anecdote. Like, this is happening every day. You need to get help. And I got some advice, bro. Companies, if you can hear the sound of our voice, as we start off with, you should be investing in wealth and well-being the same as you're invested in DEI, which should be the same as any other business stream that you're building and invested in. I think um, I'm obviously a huge proponent of companies investing in DEI as a business activity, not as a touchy feely program. I think wellness should be right there on par. I think
100%.
they go together hand in hand, and I think a huge detriment to a company is deteriorating well being by your employees. You will not get the best of them, and some tragic shit will start happening.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
experienced it. We
It
experienced it.
100%.
Yep.
So I guess, I mean, if I could just throw a little bit of information out there, a little bit more
Please,
information.
please.
Again, for anyone out there that is having a hard time, experiencing anxiety, burnout, whatever. Again, seek help. Make sure make sure you check your benefits. See if there's any mental health benefits that you can take advantage of through work. Um, as a um, yeah, as somebody that has gone through that, it's so valuable. And To be fair, I've heard other people tell me this, like, oh, I went and saw a therapist before. They just weren't that great. It's going to happen. You're probably going to have a therapist that may not um,
For sure.
may not be the best fit, but try and find another one.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give up on it. It's something that's so important. So take care of yourselves. Do your breathing exercises. Go get your exercise in. Take your dog out for walks. Get some natural sunlight. Right, I think that's starting to trend now, where the whole idea is when you wake up in the morning, getting the energy from the natural sunlight. Do whatever it is that you need to do. Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Take care of
Absolutely.
yourselves.
There's so many apps. You can go on YouTube. There's so many resources out there that can help you to use. You said the breathing exercises, the meditation, like all of that stuff. We talked about it when Kristen was here. She got my mind open to grounding, and I'm like, look, I'm not about to go outside with no shoes on. Like that's not how I was raised. But I don't know what it is about standing in the grass in the sun with no shoes on. Just the energy you get, and those are just things. I'm not a professional. Wait, aren't you
That's right.
certified in something that has to do with health and wellness? Did I see that correctly? Don't you have some type of certification?
Yes, and I'm gonna butcher the name now because it's been a while, but yeah. So I had the privilege of um, going through this the certification course. It's the mental health advocate advocacy something, but it's gonna kill it. Mental health first aid. Um, but it's a wonderful program.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it any justice. I'll be sure to give the proper name, put it in the comments, and make sure everyone has the right link. But I was able to go through this program with one of my previous employers, and great thing about this, it's a 100% free program, depending on what state and county you live in, because they receive funding from certain places. But it's one of these things that really helps people identify not just potential issues in yourself, but maybe in other people. So, but it does it in such a great way where it's not invasive and intrusive. You're not. It's not teaching people how to diagnose by any means. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was just such a great program, such a great learning opportunity. I promise I will find the full name and the right link, and make sure to drop that in the comments.
No, actually, we're gonna hold you accountable. You have to, because if
Yep.
you can't scrape up the right name, I'm questioning whether or not you actually went through the certification, or
Oh, it's
if you
embarrassing.
just flashed the winning smile and somebody gave you a certificate because you've been lifting weights though. So we
It
go
is.
we
I got it. I got it. It is the
oh,
National Council for Mental Well-being, and the certification itself is the Adult Mental Health First Aid for the USA.
there you go. All right, people. I'll call off the questioning. I think this brother actually got the
Thanks.
certification. But no, thank you, man. And I am appreciative that you not only decided to help yourself, but then you found a way to get some knowledge to be able to help others. And I think that's a testament to the man you are and why we're on this appreciate the journey together.
Yeah.
So with that being said, before we close out, LL, let's remind the people, how can they get in touch with ATJ? How can they stay plugged in? And how can they, get some support in their career journey?
Absolutely. So you can find us at ATJ, the podcast, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn,
Mhm.
or you can find us at our website, atjcareercoaching.com.
There you go. So, what final words do you have before I take us out of here, brother?
Ah, man, I'm just going to repeat myself today. Take care of yourselves. Make
Yeah,
sure whatever help you need, seek the help. Take care of yourself. Find your outlet. I think one of our other guests, Josh. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, man. Whatever outlet that you can find where you can shut your brain off from work for a couple hours, however long
yeah,
it could be, do it. Find that,
absolutely,
enjoy it, take care of yourselves, and get yourself in a good place.
absolutely. Great words, man. And I take your advice, and I found the outlet, man, and it's hosting this opportunity with you, brother. So thank you
Love
for
it.
giving me a chance to, find a space where I can be creative, have fun, and not stressed out too much. Sometimes you do stress me out, but everybody, this has been Appreciate the Journey, the podcast. We appreciate you joining us. Please always remember, for us here at ATJ, the destination is the journey. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Hold up, LL.
Yeah, what's
Wait
up?
1 second. Did we just go through and close out our show without going through what we believe is one of the most important parts of every single conversation?
I think you're right.
So, in the spirit of accountability, we're going to bring it back and we're going to make sure that we hand out our flowers for today, because we cannot go any episode without showing that appreciation and handing out flowers. So for those who have not gone through this exercise with us, or maybe first time tuning in, one thing that we love to do here is make sure that we give appreciation to those who we've met or who have impacted us throughout our journey by giving flowers, right? So just showing some appreciation for the impact they've made. So LL, it's
Yes,
on you,
sir.
my friend. What flowers do you have to give out for today's episode?
All right. So I know you called me out earlier and said I had cussed somebody out at work, and so that's the gentleman I want to give some flowers to. So Mr. Eric Graverson. Not only did I cuss him out at work, however, it's all relevant, Joe. I promise it's all relevant. While I was still living in Michigan, he was my lunchtime workout partner. So
Yeah.
he was the dude that was like keeping me accountable and making
Mhm.
sure I don't lose it at work. So a little bit of irony there. So Gravy, get some flowers.
Shouts out to Gravy, man. I wasn't gonna say it, but Gravy, when you see LL, you're okay if you give him a little shoulder bump or something, because he was not being nice that day. But we all know it's because of burnout. So for me, I think when I think about the story I told him around needing to take time away, my flowers go to one of the people who I think supported me, maybe even shock me by the level of support that they provided me. It came from a place I didn't even know I needed. So this flower goes to you, Nicole DaCosta. Nicole works in DE&I, and when I was going through my most challenging time, we were peers at the time, and she was absolutely phenomenal at being a strong coworker, but more importantly, a friend. Of course, it gets really weird when someone uses their benefits and takes some time off. People not sure, like, should I reach out, should I not, that there's not really written rules. She didn't care. She would text me, check in on me, and really let me know that she cared about my well-being, and was just rooting for me to get on the other side of that experience or situation that I was going through. So Nicole, I've told you this in person, I've told you this in front of groups, and I'm gonna tell you on ATJ how much I appreciate you. You deserve this flower. So with that, we are now actually going to close out today's episode. I don't think we forgot anything else, LL.
I think that's it. I think we
All
got it
right.
this time.
All right. Like I said a couple minutes ago, we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining. The destination is the journey. 2 times. See you soon.
Thanks again.